Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining this evening from the Australian Army is Corporal Jeanette McNeely. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Kenneth McGeorge Ronald. Kenneth Ronald was born on the 9th of October 1895 to Robert and Victoria Ronald of Hay, New South Wales. The second son of 4 boys and 2 girls in the family, he grew up on his father's property, Nap Nap Station, near Hay. His father was a well-known grazier in the district and an important figure in local events. When Kenneth was 9 years old, he was sent to the Geelong Church of England Grammar School as a boarder, completing his education there just before his 18th birthday. He was a successful student, acting as prefect and senior member of the upper 6th. Kenneth was also a speed sportsman, rowing in the public schools of Victoria 8-all race and winning the School Cup for Sports in 1913. From Geelong Grammar, he became a student at the Wagga Wagga Experimental Farm, intending to work in agriculture like his father before him. Kenneth Ronald was a student at the Experimental Farm when war broke out in August 1914. Within weeks, he and his older brother Bob enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force. The brothers were accepted for service with the 6th Light Horse Regiment and began training immediately. Part of the 2nd Light Horse Brigade, the 6th Light Horse Regiment sailed from Sydney on the 21st of December 1914, arriving in Egypt several weeks later to continue training in the desert. During this time, the brothers were always together. The Light Horse were initially considered unsuitable for use on the Gallipoli Peninsula. However, after the casualties of the landing and the confusion of the days after, it was determined to send the men to Gallipoli to serve without their horses. The Ronald brothers probably landed with their squadron in late May and would go on to serve in the largely defensive capacity over the coming weeks. About a month after arriving on Gallipoli, Bob Ronald was shot in the arm and evacuated to hospital in Egypt. The brothers would never see each other again. On the 12th of July, a British force attacked the enemy in the Archi Babu Nola sector of the line at the tip of the Gallipoli Peninsula. In support of that operation, various Australian units were ordered to go out and harass the Turks opposite their line in the hopes of drawing reserves away from the Cape Helles and up to Anzac Cove. An officer of the 6th Light Horse later wrote to say Ellis's troop played a very gallant part. They went out in front of the trenches and stormed on every hill. Every man was cool, steady and game, and the officer in charge did splendidly and was mentioned in dispatches. The work was successful and achieved its objective. Although the overall success of the operation is debatable, it was costly in lives, with at least 4 men killed on the small band of the 6th Light Horse who advanced, killed in action. One of Kenneth's mates wrote to his parents to say, "Ken had the bad luck to be in the thickest of the fire and was hit by shrapnel. He was carried away to safety almost immediately, but did not live long. I marked his grave as to make sure for a headstone, but today I find his good friends have already fixed up a temporary cross." Ronald's commanding officer also wrote to the family in Hay saying, "I can assure you it was very hot work. On and on they came in the face of a murderous fire, but not one of them flinched. I'm very proud of the men who were here with me that day. I had been in close touch with your son Kenneth ever since he joined the regiment and always found him to be one of the keenest of soldiers, the most gentlemanly boy it has ever been my pleasure to meet. He was loved by all his comrades. I feel extremely sorry for his brother, who was wounded a few days before. They were such great mates. Kenneth was one of the bravest and strongest constitutional men I have ever seen. Although fearfully wounded, he was fully conscious right to the last." Today, Trooper Kenneth Ronald lie buried in the Shell Green Cemetery on the Gallipoli Peninsula. He was 19 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour of Myanmar amongst more than 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Kenneth McGeorge Ronald, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.